And my sister called, Christopher, what do you think? Should Dad give it up? And I'm like, well, yeah, I've talked to Dad.
Your sister will love that impression of
I think it's kind of cool. Oh, what? What? I thought you were going to be on my side. All right, goodbye, Christopher. Goodbye. That's enough from you. Oh, yeah, baby. That's my impression of my sister, Deirdre. Yup, she's got a big mouth. Anybody that knows my family, that's how she talks when she gets going, okay? But yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Ahmed Fareed is here. We got a dandy for you on a Wednesday afternoon, May 7th. We got lots of stuff to talk about. Got the little gift of some recent news this morning with the trade with the Steelers and the Cowboys. We got Terron Armstead coming on in a little bit, right? Who wants to break into the business. One of the best tackles in football over the last decade or so with the Saints, with the Miami Dolphins. He's going to come on. We had a little fun with him at the Super Bowl. He's going to be cool. We're going to have a lot of fun with him. He's got great personality. It's going to be a lot like Orlando Brown Jr. I'm excited for that. But mostly, I'm excited to see you.
Thank you.
It's very good to see you today.
Great to see you as well.
It's great to see you. You totally abandoned. I know you're, sober. You're Mr. Clean, but you've just gone to hell with it on the energy drinks lately, huh?
I am so far back into the energy drinks. I've given up alcohol.
You are in.
But we're bordering on almost 2 a day.
Every time you're out, it drags you back in.
I know, but that's okay.
2 a day, huh?
Yeah, I got to slow that down.
Wow.
Or if I do one, I do pre-workout as well because I'm trying to lift weights a little bit more.
Okay, all right. So now you're even get into like 3 maybe some days or a little an extra
never
drinks?
3. How dare you say that?
Do you have issues sleeping at night? Do you have anything like that?
This is the problem.
Right.
I think that caffeine no longer has an effect on me.
Wow.
I really think I've drank so much of it that I can drink it at night and I have no problem.
And you have no problem. But it does get you going early in the day, and it gets you moving that
way.
Maybe.
So that's the problem here. I'm putting all this into my body now for no reason. There's no reason.
So you're not even sure.
Yeah, I will probably get a headache, though, if I don't have it. So I only get the downsides of caffeine.
Okay, are you like a crackhead who gets shakes in the bed at night if we go like a night without it?
No.
All right.
I am not. But I at some point I will have to detox again.
Okay.
That day is not today.
Okay. And we just don't want to ever dive down the coffee road or anything like that?
I've tried. I just
want to
hate
stay with chemicals and everything like that.
I'm a sucker for super sweet stuff, and coffee is not sweet
at
all.
It
tastes disgusting to me. I've tried a couple of times, but yeah.
All right.
We'll see. Maybe over the summer, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
You're right. We do have.
We all have our vices.
Yeah. And mine is 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. All right, so here we go. So we got Ask Me Anything. We got the homies chiming in again.
Yep.
You already laid this all out. Let's get to the trade.
All right,
Let's get to the big news before we get to Terron.
Let's do it.
Steelers are trading their wide receiver, George Pickens. He's going to the Dallas Cowboys now. So the Cowboys have now put out a trade alert. So this is official. Cowboys reporting it as well. They say, we have agreed to terms to acquire George Pickens and a 2027 6th-round pick from the Steelers in exchange for a 2026 3rd-round pick and a 2027 5th-round pick. So if you want to adjust your draft boards accordingly, there you go. Now you got all the information. But your first reaction when you heard George Pickens is going to the Cowboys.
I think there was like 2 wows, right? And this is one of those where like literally I'm driving to work in the morning and it happens. And it's like I'm stopped at a stoplight. I hear my phone beep. I'm like, oh gosh, George Pickens. So you're like trying to wrap your head around it. I'm going, I'm on live TV in like 30 minutes here. And this is like, let me wrap my head around this, right? So I think the first thing that popped into my head was one, I'm surprised Pittsburgh didn't do this before the draft, maybe to get draft picks, right? To go, wait, we got Aaron Rodgers. We feel like we're going for it this year. Let's get another pick and let's help out the team right now, right? So I think that kind of went to my mind right away. And then the other part of it was just like, wow, so they are going to trade him, right? Like Florio had said from the beginning when they got DK Metcalf, I think this is the end of George Pickens. In full transparency, I was like, well, I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers comes, he might be like, let's just try to ride this out 1 year, right? Let's try to massage this Pickens things to where, we get 1 more year out of him, just like we've seen maybe the Vikings do with Justin Jefferson or the Bengals do with Jamar Chase, and like kind of go, hey, we're not going to give you that big contract. We want to see 1 more year here, right? So I thought maybe they would try to kick the can down the road a little bit, but obviously no. They wanted nothing to do with it. They got out of this. They obviously felt like George Pickens, we know he's a good player, but he's been a problem there. He's been hard to deal with, and I think they just finally got to a point where they went, hey, let's get something for him. Let's get some picks, whatever else, and not have to deal with the headache of where he's not getting the ball enough in a contract year. It might distract our team, all of that. So, like, surprised a little bit, but not shocked. But an awesome trade to give us some news here on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, you almost wonder if they got indications that he was going to be a problem in camp.
He never asked for a trade, right?
Yeah.
But he did, by all accounts, kind of say things where you go, okay, he's not happy with the football team. And you felt like Mike Tomlin, who's a master at dealing with personalities on that Pittsburgh football team, you felt like this was one where I don't think he's got total control of this guy, right? I mean, he was always having to make comments. He's got to grow up sooner rather than later, blah, blah, blah. There was always stuff like that. Pickens was always kind of needling the organization, whether it's being late or, saying things at the end of the year press conference about the status of the offense and the team and all that. So he has not exactly been a good Samaritan as far as to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think, yeah, you're right. They just looked at it like it was too much of a headache to deal with.
So now, if you're looking at this from the Aaron Rodgers perspective, I guess you could look at it a couple ways because you got DK Metcalf there, and I think we have some photos and video of them working out together in March with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. You have Calvin Austin. You have Roman Wilson from Michigan, who they got last year, who you like a whole bunch.
I did like a whole bunch.
But I would think maybe that Aaron Rodgers would not like this. That's one fewer weapon that he has there as a wide receiver.
That's where I was there too, right. I thought they were going to use Rodgers to kind of go, hey, Pickens, it's okay. Hey, contract, we'll figure it out. But we got Aaron Rodgers. We're going to be good. Just kind of hang in there, right?
Yes.
But they obviously felt like, no, Rodgers, he's here. DK Metcalf might get the majority of the footballs, and they're just not going to be able to control George Pickens. And I think that was their logic at the end of the day.
JG of Auburn tweeted at us and said the other side of it, maybe Rodgers was getting closer to Pitt, and the final move was to unload Pickens. A-Rod said no go with the malcontent Pickens. He goes, there's only going to be one malcontent here, and that's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to let anyone else do that.
Yeah,
that's my gig.
I mean, all signs point towards Rodgers going there.
Yeah.
Right? If Rodgers and them, this is, again, where I would go surprised. If you wanted to help Rodgers out and do all this, why not trade him before the draft and get this third-round pick right now where we know there was really good third-round receivers to be had that could help your football team out? Now, what I will say with Pittsburgh, the questions you bring up I think are very real. Those are probably the second things that went to my head. Well, okay, damn, we could have had something. DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the outside. Now you think about Pittsburgh and you go, okay, there's some good there. Don't get me wrong. The O-line's certainly gone in the right direction the last few years. They get a Caleb Johnson in the draft out of Iowa, who we know and we saw a lot of Big Ten football. He can rip off some big plays and be explosive. Pat Freiermuth is a good damn tight end. So Aaron Rodgers is going to like that. But as far as the rest of the receiving core goes, I think what you're alluding to here is, there's not a lot of proven commodities here. Right? There is Robert Woods, who at this point is older, a career journeyman, and been injured a little bit. Calvin Austin's kind of a weapon. I like him, but is he a dependable, we can throw him the ball 5 to 8 times a game, every game? I don't know how they feel about that. But where I will say is I do trust Pittsburgh's evaluation of receivers. It is one area where they've been stellar for about 15 years now, if not more. And I would got to think that, there's somebody like the name you brought up, a Roman Wilson, where they're going, no, we think he makes his name for himself this year. He's going to be a part of the offense. He's going to do something. I'm hoping that's the case. Or do we get into dusting off a free agent? Do we get into we'll get Keenan Allen for the right price and Amari Cooper? Does Alan Lazard for the Jets, and the Jets go, hey, your old, you can have your old buddy, right? Blah, blah, blah. They reorganized his contract a little bit. Those would be the things that pop to my brain a little bit to maybe where they add some help to that room.
Well, maybe that is interesting because that is one of the things that Aaron Rodgers did. It's like, hey, let me bring some of my friends over here, make me feel comfortable.
Yes.
And we see how well that went with the New York Jets.
You're funny. You're funny.
To recreate that. All right, DraftKings gave us the Cowboys and the Steelers futures here. So this is updated now, Pete? This is to the second, or is this did it change at all? Probably not, right, with George Pickens. Wouldn't imagine that. But here's the win totals for the Cowboys. 7.5 is the over-under. Steelers is 8.5. So both teams are not favored to make the playoffs, even less likely to win their division. So they're these two teams are like equal almost.
And we'll hit on the Cowboys angle of this here in a second, right? Right, the Steelers, I think you look at them and you go, hey, they've made some adjustments to their team. I do expect them to be better, and especially if they have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, quarterback play has been below average for the Pittsburgh Steelers the last few years. We know their defense will be a pain in the ass, right? They're going to be good. They're going to be one of the better defenses in football. So I certainly think they're going to have a say here and the big picture of things in the AFC North with an Aaron Rodgers at the helm. So I like that. The Cowboys, on the other hand, and just going off of that, right? And last thing with the Pittsburgh is, I would think they're going to try to add one more proven commodity to that wide receiver room. Not maybe it's somebody else we didn't even mention, but somebody else where they just go, hey, he could play, he's smart, he'll understand Rodgers, all the signals, things he wants to do at the line of scrimmage. Rodgers will be able to trust him, and that's why I brought up like a Keenan Allen, because I feel like he fits that kind of mold. Work the slot. Rodgers gives you the signal, okay, I got it. I'll run the route perfectly. Oh, it's a zone. I know exactly how to sit down and be quarterback friendly, right? So I expect something to be done there. Now, we get back to what we just saw with DraftKings and the Cowboys. 7.5. Cowboys will be one of those teams where I think people are underestimating a little. I will say that. I said this today on the show with Florio when I was talking about it a little bit, and I know they're not one of the top teams in football to where we go, oh, I think they're going to the NFC Championship or anything like that. But for to sit here and just go, oh, they're not going to go to the playoffs or anything like that, I'm not willing to bet money on that. In fact, if I had extra money and you had extra money laying around, I'd go, Cowboys are one of the teams that everybody is putting outside the playoffs right now that I would put in, right, and take a shot. Maybe you make some extra money, right? So, plus 210 is what it is right here by DraftKings. Now, you get into the Cowboys, you go, hey, their offensive line, they've improved it, right? I mean, they got 2 first-rounders on the left side, and Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton. They got a center that they obviously like in Cooper Beebe, who they drafted 2 years ago. Yep. Tyler Booker, first-rounder this year.
Dang, they have 3 Tylers on their offensive line.
It's pretty impressive.
That's an underreported fact.
And you're right. Well, one of them's, 3 Tylers, and they're all first-rounders. So they've improved the offensive line. They're going to be there. They have a pretty good tight end. Now you get into what we're seeing, I think, is becoming a fad in the NFL. We used to be, you don't need a great receiver to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. We've hit the era of you need more than one great receiver to win the Super Bowl now. That's what we've hit. We've hit the era of teams are starting to go, hey, we run the ball, hey, and we're going to get 2 receivers. So the hell with it. You know, you see the 49ers who went to multiple Super Bowls, 2 receivers. You watch the Eagles, right, 2 receivers, right? The Dolphins, they've been one of the better offenses in football, 2 receivers. We've seen the Ravens go into the receiver, 2 first-rounders, and Bateman and Zay Flowers because we got to get some guys here, right? We're big, we run the ball, all of that. The Bengals went to the Super Bowl, 2 receivers. The Rams went to the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., 2 receivers, right? So I think there's a thing there. The Bucs won the Super Bowl. Who were they? Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Oh, and Antonio Brown and Gronk, okay? So I think you're seeing that. I think Dallas is realizing that. They shored up their offensive line. Their quarterback is good, right? They need him to play like he's the highest paid player in football, not the 10th best quarterback in the game, right? That doesn't make sense. So that helps this out. So my basic point there is there's more talent on that offense than people think. Running back position is not wowing, but there's a lot of solid there. Defense, if you look at the Cowboys' defense, there's stuff to like here. Their D-line has got talent and a little depth. Dante Fowler Jr., Mozzie Smith seemed like he went in the right direction last year. Oza Odigizua, they just paid him big money. He's one of the better disruptive tackles in football. Of course, we got Micah Parsons. We got Donovan Izarico, who we just drafted out of Boston College in the second round, who we think could be a superstar. Marshawn Nealon, a backup DN who's a damn good player. The linebacking position's pretty good, especially if DeMarvion Overshawn gets healthy. And then their secondary, their corners, are pretty damn good. So what I'm saying is, Dallas, this was a big-time move that I think does catapult them, I'm not going to say to definite playoff, but more of a pain in the ass and more of a player in the NFC than I think people are giving them credit for.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
If George Pickens is not what the Steelers thought George Pickens was that made them want to trade him.
Now,
right?
So yes, you're exactly right. Yeah. So there's the other part of this. They're taking a risk here. Right? And the other thing that went through my mind when the trade happened, I wonder what they're going to get the Steelers, right? This is George Pickens. This is the prime of his career. Yeah. He's going into the 4th year of his contract. He's making peanuts as far as big-time superstar receivers. Now, I know future contract takes away from the trade value, but to just trade away a 3rd-round pick for a guy that's in the prime of his career where I think a lot of people in football would go, I see superstar potential out of George Pickens, I was a little surprised by that. But I think in that, too, it tells me that the Steelers they didn't want him. They were exhausted by it. They had let it be known through the NFL circles that they wanted rid of him. So that hurt their value, too. So they do that. But your point about Pickens there, and now, wait, we already got a Micah Parsons distraction on the contract. You're trading for George Pickens, who's going to want a contract. You better not give him the contract before you give it to Micah Parsons. That will be messed up. I'll be here to say that, and I'm sure Micah Parsons would think that's messed up. But, okay, you don't give him the contract. And we've seen this is an offense that feeds CeeDee Lamb at exhausting amounts. We get to week 4. They're 1-2 or 1-3, and he's only got a handful of catches. What do you think's going to happen there in Dallas? Do you think he's going to be the perfect Boy Scout in the world and just go, oh, yeah, everything's great? No, I would start to think he's bothered. It's a contract year. His stats are going to matter. He wants to be able to get as much money as possible. So that's the risk that you're alluding to there, that Dallas will definitely have to feel the burden of here if they don't get a contract done with Pickens before the year, or at least massage this the right way to keep him, what do I want to say, just at ease that, hey, you're going to get the contract as long as you play good and do the right things, and we're just getting to know you and the player, and we want to see your practice habits and all that. If they can just sell that to him and to buy in, then hopefully good things can happen for the Cowboys.
They got to hope it works because they've given up a lot of resources for their wide receivers here. A lot of money for CeeDee Lamb, trade capital for George Pickens, trade capital for Jonathan Mingo before then.
That's right.
So this should be a strength of your team, and if it's not, that will be a problem for them.
I would agree with that too. They have some things that you like there, and they got some weapons to play with in the back end. Now, let's see what Jonathan Mingo can bring to the table, right? Can a Jalen Tolbert continue to ascend in the right direction as a third-round pick from 3 or 4 years ago, right? So they're going to need some of them, let alone, hopefully a Javonte Williams or a Jaden Blue or somebody like that can really help out at the running back position. But big-time move by the Cowboys, certainly. Catapults them at least into a different level or stratosphere as a football team, makes them more dangerous. They're making the proper adjustments here, but like you said, the risk of the player, the contract, and what could blow up in your face, along with the fact of Micah Parsons' contract, and if you continue to drag your feet like they always do, that's all we're going to be talking about in training camp. And maybe that's what the Cowboys want. I don't know. Maybe that is. But I don't think that's necessarily conducive to great football on the field, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Your friend over at Pro Football Talk is already reporting that Allen Lazard is in play.
There we go.
The Steelers.
Right.
So they're already.
There we go. So you got to think there's somebody there. I would be shocked if Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, the whole group there in Pittsburgh is just going, oh, yeah, we feel great about our whole receiver room. Yeah. Roman Wilson, as much as they even like him, he had an injury last year. He didn't play very much. I don't think they're going to just want to put that burden on him either in such a big way right off the bat. So I would think, yes, some sort of veteran to fill in things and just help out the offense altogether. And if they're in talks with Allen Lazard already, I mean, can we just say that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback? Doesn't that just tell you everything?
It's a package deal.
Right.
DraftKings Sportsbook is your home for live betting, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use the promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
I didn't even need caffeine this morning. That woke me up right there.
That woke your ass up.
Thank God there was a trade.
I'm deep into my caffeine, so I'm awake and going, all right?
You're on hour 3 now of talking throughout the morning.
Right.
And in the next half hour, we're going to be talking to Terron Armstead.
Ooh.
A live interview. He just joined us, so we're going to take a little bit of a break here. When we come back, we're talking to the 6'5", 300-pounder next.
What drew you to play left tackle? When did you know that was your calling?
Couldn't stop eating, man. I couldn't put it down.
What's the one thing you can't stop eating until they take it away?
See, that was young, undisciplined me. Now,
you have discipline.
I've trained my mental. I'm powerful up here now.
All right.
But I think chips really was, flaming hot fries made me an offensive lineman.
That's amazing.
So,
amazing.
See, kids, start eating the flaming hot fries and
That's
you'll be
the way
an
to do
offensive
it.
lineman too.
The man ate his way into a 12-year NFL career as an offensive lineman. Terron Armstead joining the show right now. First years with New Orleans Saints, last 3 years with the Miami Dolphins. I'll tell you what, he doesn't look. When you're looking at him, Terron, right now, it doesn't look like a.
He's never
giant
been
human
that kind of
being.
guy, right? That was kind of funny about his answer altogether because everybody's whenever you talked about Toronto, it was the athlete. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, his butt and belly are so big. Look at this guy. You weren't one of them, right? But how are you approaching diet? I know when I got done with my career, I was a little like, It's relieving to not have to think about, eating always healthy, what you're going to do to be a better football player. Have you found that to be refreshing so far here in your early retirement?
So I'll probably have taken the opposite approach, Chris. I'm more so into my diet and paying attention to what I'm eating because I'm not as active, burning as many calories at practice and games. I'm down about 35, 40 pounds.
Wow.
Since playing. Yeah. So I've been more locked in on those eating habits. Like I said, my mental is strong now. The discipline, I got it now.
I always knew you had the mental and the strong and all that too. Were you a guy throughout your career who had to work pretty hard during the week to eat to keep weight on? Were you one of those type of offensive linemen?
It wasn't work for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to eat whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
I never went over my weight, so I was always good with the weight. I seen guys that would starve themselves, that would spend extra time in the sauna and steam room trying to sweat off the last few pounds before weigh-in day. I never wanted to get into that routine because it looked miserable. Wouldn't be able to eat dinner, couldn't drink water at practice, things like that, because they were trying to just lose those few pounds to be under. I never wanted to get into that ever, but I was able to eat what I wanted pretty much, and it was fun.
Yeah, I bet it was. I mean, that was a good I kind of was like that too, where I could eat whatever I want when I was playing because I could just burn it off and I didn't have to worry about it, and it was fun. But yeah, when I got done, at least I didn't even have to worry about anything all together. All right, so I want to ask you a bunch of questions, current NFL stuff, right? But I want to, we get into themes of the offensive line here. Just because I'm an ex-quarterback and we're a podcast, we talk about the big badass mofos on the O-line and D-line a lot, okay?
Love it.
So one of the first things I want to hit you with is preparation of young offensive linemen and their readiness for the NFL right now, right? You hear it everywhere. I talk to coaches sometimes, right? Have you seen that be a thing in your experience, your last few years in the NFL, where you felt like maybe compared to earlier in your career, guys are not quite as coached up on the offensive line as they used to be?
Yeah, I mean, it will always be a learning curve as you go up a level. Going from high school to college, you could be the best player in high school, but you still a lot to learn when you get to college because you haven't seen these athletes yet. You haven't felt this type of strength and seen this type of speed. Same thing going from college to the pros. It's just this is the last level. You're unlocking the final level, the final evolution of a defensive lineman. So it's a learning curve. So you think you're running fast, you're a fast sprinter in college, and then all of a sudden you got to line up next to Usain Bolt. It's different. You've never seen it before, so you got to make those adjustments. I can't really say if the technique or preparation for guys coming in is better or worse. Can't really say, but for sure it's always going to be a learning curve. Even the ones that jump in and have a successful start, the training camp and all those good things, it's a lot of growing pains.
I'm curious with you, Terron. What was maybe a technique thing or a tip that a coach gave you early on in your career, or maybe at a point where you took the next step that really advanced your game? Was there a certain technique you learned, a philosophy or anything that you thought helped you the most in your career?
Yeah, man, it was a ton, especially coming out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Just my stance alone, the stance I had more of a shot putter stance as I was trying to explode back into my set in college. And then getting into the pros, I needed more of a balanced stance to be able to go right inside zone or right outside zone, go left outside zone, and be able to pass it out of the same stance. So I wasn't giving those keys away. So I'm in one stance when I'm preparing to pass protect, in a completely different stance during the run game. Those are easy tells in the NFL. Easy. They can pick up on those keys. So I couldn't be the one out there doing that. But yeah, my stance was probably my biggest work area once I first came into the league. And then there's so many technique things and things that I wish I knew earlier that I was able to get. Frank Smith was the one that spent a lot of time with me after practice, trying to really remolded my entire game and my makeup to be able to play when I finally got my start as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say the transition from tackle college to the NFL it's up there with one of the hardest transitions in all of football as far as your position is concerned. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You go from blocking Miles Buchanan at the University of Arkansas A&M,
Right.
Stateville, and then you line up against Miles Garrett, and yeah, it's just a lot of differences. A lot of differences.
Yeah, I bet that. And
Nothing
even
against
like,
Miles Cannon.
well, yeah,
or
nothing
Gannon.
against
Yeah,
that guy,
yeah.
you know, Arkansas A&M and all of that, right?
A&M Stateville.
Yeah, A&M
There we
State.
go.
You're not Miles Garrett. We know he's a freaky. How about schematically too, right? Because in college football, it's become such a spread thing where, you know, I've talked to some coaches where, like, yeah, the offensive lineman comes in, he's never pulled, he's never run a man blocking pass scheme or run scheme. It's just, you know, zone left, zone right, slide protection left, slide protection right. That's all they ever do. Do you think colleges are doing a disservice maybe to offensive linemen that way with how simple they're playing things on that side of the ball?
I think there's some schools you can find that have a lot of parallels, you know, that runs a pro style offense.
Right.
But for the most part, college is its own world. A lot of run and gun, a lot of options and all those things that you don't really see in the NFL. The terminology is pretty similar though. And you'll, especially in O-line, from high school, the terminology, we all run an A, B, and C blocks on the backside. We all doing aces, deuces, and trays front side. You know, the terminology is the same. I think the biggest difference once you get to the pros from college is the adjustments. There's so many different adjustments that has to be had. In college, you line up, you got your protection, you're sliding left.
Right.
Plain and simple. NFL, you walk up, you're playing the Ravens, and Cal Hamilton's down on this side, and this guy and Roquan Smith might be blitzing on us. So it's a lot of adjustments you have to make. You can't just go out there and run a cookie cutter protection in the NFL. There's so many disguises and looks that they pride themselves on. These defensive coordinators are really smart and know how to attack the weaknesses of every protection. So you have to be able to adjust.
Yeah, that communication at the line of scrimmage, the different protections at the just the helm of the quarterback, to change it, all of that. That's where the game's a lot different, right, compared to college for you guys, right?
For
Right.
sure.
Yeah. All right. So other thing we got, I mean, the badass mofo's on the defensive line in the NFL right now. I feel like in the last 10 to 15 years, it's, you know, and again, you tell me if I'm wrong with some of my takes or you have a different take on it altogether, where I just feel like, and we joke about it here and go, there's some teams I feel like they can't get a starting 5 offensive line together that they really like. But yet almost every team's 8 deep on the D-line. Every team's got everything right now on the defensive line. I mean, what's your thoughts on my thought or my little football-based analysis on that subject there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a much easier position. It's a much easier profession in life is to be a D lineman. You don't have to think about much. You go fast. You use your athleticism, your speed. You try to get to one spot. Like, it's not too much of a learning curve and that you have to go through. Don't get me wrong. Like those guys, a lot of those guys that are technicians, they spend a lot of time on their craft. They're working hands and all those good things, but for the most part, you can find somebody that's big, fast, strong, put his hand in the dirt and say, go get that guy with the ball. Like,
Right.
It's not too much.
Yeah. No, so
No disrespect to any D linemen out there either, right?
or all the disrespect.
Or all of it. Fine. The hell with all of you.
throw it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're retired, so you don't have to say it now, so you're all good saying that.
I mean, I said it when I was playing too.
All
No
right,
problem.
all right.
No
Made
problem.
enemies. Yeah, enemies then, more enemies now.
Yeah, well,
Doesn't
when
matter.
you're a
Yeah.
left tackle, you're not really scared of much, okay?
Yeah.
Especially when you're of
6'5",
his
310.
caliber.
Yeah,
right.
when you're quote unquote small,
Right,
you know. Yeah.
right.
So who outside of the usual names, maybe who was a guy that maybe did give you more trouble than a guy that we haven't maybe heard about as much?
Man, honestly, throughout my career, I hated to see the practice squad guys or the guys that wasn't really on the scouting report or the guy that was running down on kickoff and playing kick return, and then all of a sudden he comes in on the third down. I'm like, oh shit! Like, what does he do? What's his move? What is,
right.
you know? I hated it. I hated to see that guy. So I'd rather block. Give me the one that we all know that has 17 sacks. You know, I'm prepared. I know exactly what he's trying to do. Give me that guy. It was the ones that wasn't on the scouting report. They might be active this week, not. the neck, and they play hard, too
Right.
hard. Yeah.
Right.
Get
Yeah.
him out of here.
Yeah, Johnny Tryhard's trying to make the roster on a full-time go
They
there.
got 3 plays, and
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter for them. They
he's
don't have
going
to
full
worry about
out.
65
so,
plays.
so the unknown scared you,
That's
basically, is
interesting.
what you're
Didn't
saying.
scare him. Don't say it
Yeah,
scared
yeah,
him. He didn't say that.
But yeah.
Kind of scared me.
Yeah. All right. So off of that too, since you are retired, and hopefully you could check your ego at the door. Just while we're on the subject here too, who was like, out of the top big name guys, right? Who did give you problems? Just like that, you were just like, hey, I know you're the man, and you were Pro Bowls and all of that, but like, was there one of those big name guys that you were always like, man, he just was a tough matchup for me?
Oh man, a ton, yeah, for sure. I've had my issues with a lot of them top guys, and I see why they have such a name. Trey Hendrickson, that was a game that was like, goddamn, dude, chill. he plays like his hair is on fire. Right. Trey was one of them for sure. Throughout the years, man, I had a lot of battles with Robert Quinn.
Right.
Robert Quinn, he beat me one-on-one more than anybody in the history of my career.
Wow.
He had maybe like clean wins, like 5 clean wins.
What was it? What was he doing to you? Like, what was his move or thing that gave you issues in your attack against him?
So Robert Quinn, he has the best bend, and you hear that when you're talking pass rushers. He has the best bend in probably NFL history. This dude had no bones. He was just a walking rubber band in a football uniform. And so his speed and everything he can do threatening the edge, you had to pay attention to, because he was great at running the edge, knocking the ball out of the quarterback hand.
Right.
But he had a nasty counter, inside move. Nasty counter, it all looks the same, and then he stick his foot in the ground, he go inside. So he probably beat me like 4 or 5 clean times, which don't really I get beat clean twice a year.
Right.
2 times a year I get cooked bad. And he probably got 4 or 5 of those out of our how many times we played each other.
All right. Well, everybody's got their kryptonite, so now we know yours. We got it. Robert Quinn's your kryptonite for sure. I do want to hit on some of the current topics here in the NFL a little bit. I do want to hit on the George Pickens trade. I do want to hit on a little bit of the state of the Miami Dolphins, right? And a little of that. Who could speak to that better than you? But the other thing I want to hit on here, just before we dive into that, you've been with 2 offensive geniuses, in your career, Sean Payton, Mike McDaniel. And I know Mike McDaniel doesn't have the Super Bowl trophy to back it up or anything like that, but I think we can all agree that, damn, you guys did some really cool, creative stuff, and people were wide open a lot in Miami, right? How about just speak to the differences or the things that were similar between a Mike McDaniel and a Sean Payton, and maybe where they're a little different in their approach as well?
The similarities to me is like they are different. They're different minds. They're different. They see the game different than many of us that's walking this earth. And I would say the similarities are their obsession with creating advantages.
Right.
It could be for Sean, it was personnel advantages and where he would line certain people up. Simple motions, but it told him a lot.
Right.
And that's all he's looking for. Who you had lined up on Jimmy Graham when he was all the way away from the formation told him everything.
Right.
Who you had lined up on Michael Thomas when he goes in motion, who's following him, that told him information.
Yeah.
So for Mike, it's the same thing. So who's following Tyreek when he goes in his speed motion? Who's bumping out when Jalen Waddle goes from the backfield to the X position? Right. It told him everything he needed to know. So their obsession with gathering information and seeing ways to attack defense was very, very similar.
Right.
The difference is just the approach. Like Sean was more military style. It was tough. It was in your face, like aggressive.
Yeah, gonna cuss you out, gonna say some things like, "What the are you doing? How the did you do this? We went over this 80 times last week, right?"
Mike wouldn't do that. Mike wouldn't do that. What would he?
No,
when he got mad,
Mike,
what would he do?
Mike really didn't get mad much. Like he would stay the same.
Yeah.
And he prided himself on that, like not being up or down, not switching up, he prided himself on being consistent. and being able to just communicate and like y'all try to talk through it was different than Sean, because it was, hey, you do this shit this way, or I'll have somebody in here Tuesday auditioning for your job. It's a ton of them waiting. I just gotta make a call. Like that's what Sean would say that to you during the game, you know. So he didn't have no problem shaking up your mind and shaking up your mental, but Mike is a different approach.
You think the Dolphins could use a little bit more of that? Because obviously I've had so much talent, playoff team, you know, didn't go quite as well this past year. What do you think the Dolphins need or they didn't have that could have got them to the next level?
Yeah, no, look, I think it's more than one way to win. You know what I mean? I think Super Bowl champ Pete Carroll is the happiest, nicest dude you've ever seen in your life. You know, so it can be done that way with that type of positivity and enthusiasm for sure. For the Dolphins, man, we've had some unfortunate runs in the health department.
Right.
My second year, we really, really strongly felt like we had something, had a chance to go and compete for a championship, and that's all you want. But we walked into the playoffs with maybe a defensive starter.
Right.
You know, it was tough. It was tough to overcome that. And then this past year was up and down with the injuries, man. Losing Tua week 2, 3, we never was able to right the ship, and we battled back to get into playoff contention. But last year we really didn't have a legitimate chance to go to the playoffs and win a playoff game. It never was a chance. We never caught that stride and got that chemistry and flow going that it takes to win those big games. You know what I mean? Locked in on the details. Everybody knows exactly what you're going to do. We just had so many moving parts. It was hard to ever get into any type of rhythm.
Where do you think the current status of the Dolphins is right now, right? I mean, we're in a spot where I know my friend that I work with, Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, we've both heard that, hey, there's people in that organization that not sure Tua can get them to where they need to go. Jalen Ramsey's asking for a trade and wants out there. We know Tyreek Hill's shown moments of not being totally happy there, right? How do you kind of see things as far as the direction of the team down there in Miami and where it's going right now?
Yeah, man, I don't think there's any team, even the Super Bowl champs, Philadelphia Eagles, that are perfectly fine with their current situation. Like, it's questions. Every season you come into, it's questions. Can he do this? Can they do this? You know what I mean? It's questions. And it should be. That's a part of the offseason program. It's a part of all the way up until we kick this thing off. We don't know. It's everything's a question, honestly. So for the Dolphins, man, I think they have a very talented team. Very talented team. And I'm a firm believer in Tua. I am. I've seen his process. I've seen him go into a mode of being a killer. Like, I've seen it.
Yeah, right.
In person. I would love to see it more. Would love to see it more often. Love to see him get rid of teams more often. Like, I would love to see that. And I think from the trajectory of his career, he's only gotten better. He's only improved. He's only made smarter decisions. The durability, you know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. If Tua is able to be healthy every game, the Dolphins could win every game they play. I truly feel that way. But if he's not under center, it's a completely different team. It's a completely different offense, and it makes everything tough. Yeah. Defensively, I like where they are. If we can get Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips healthy,
right,
that defense is the top, whatever you want to call it. Chop Robinson is a real thing. They got some great additions that they brought into that defense. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips can literally change the direction of this season for the Miami Dolphins.
Right. Jalen Phillips, I mean, by all due accounts, in my opinion, looks like he's on the verge of being a superstar, really, in the NFL before he gets hurt, right? I mean, he's a special player.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Special player, special athlete. He loves it. He's obsessed with it. He wants to destroy you when you line up against him. Just two very unfortunate, untimely injuries. But it couldn't happen to a stronger person, a mentally stronger person. He's going to be back to form. Like, that's the craziest thing, is you go through 2 catastrophic injuries. Not many people will be able to come back and fight their way back. But he will be back to form.
Are you surprised after everything you just say right there that like Jalen Ramsey wants to leave, that he wants to get out of Miami? Like I'm a little surprised. Like you said, I mean, I'm not sitting here going to pick the Miami Dolphins for the Super Bowl, but yeah, there's still a lot of good damn players on the team throughout the roster.
Yeah, no, for sure. And he's one of them. He's one of the great ones for sure. I mean, his personal reasons I can't really speak on.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of you do what's best for you, and the team has to do what's best for them. You know what I mean? So, ideally, if you ask me if I'm the GM, I want Jalen Ramsey on my team. I want him to be in the building. I want him to lead the young guys and lead by example and bring a great energy to the building.
Are you
ideally?
Sorry. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. All right. And like you saw Tyreek Hill put out his top 5 quarterbacks yesterday.
Who do you have in it? Who do you have in the top 5?
Well, we had the 4 that we know the 4, right? That's like you can't argue Lamar, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with like that's the top 4 in football right now. Like Terron's laughing. He's like, yeah, duh. Yeah. We all know they're the top 4, right? But he put Baker Mayfield as the other 5th name in there, right? Yeah. Which will be a hotly, talked about debate there. Right, but are you a little surprised Tyreek didn't throw his name in there? He's been like effusive with his praise for Tua. I was actually surprised he didn't put him in there.
That's the thing, and I want you guys to hear me loud and clear.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill is extremely intelligent.
Right.
He loves and knows how to get engagement. And he loves to try. He could have, I promise to you guys.
Yeah.
Him and Tua might have been sitting next to each other.
Right.
While he's saying his top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks.
Right.
Like Reek maybe never even seen Baker Mayfield play. He's a smart guy.
He just knew that'll do that. Right. Okay.
Let's you know what? I'm bored. Let me get him going.
Yeah. And look, we're talking about on the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast.
He's made it. Right. He's a South Florida showman, and there's a lot of them down there. The South Florida guys, man, they know how to turn, show up when the lights turn on. All right. Last one about the Dolphins, I swear. But how do you think they change it around to get this aura away of like, oh, they're not tough, they're not gritty enough, whatever it is, right? I mean, what's something you could now on the outside looking at you could say to maybe Mike McDaniel or somebody there to go, hey, maybe we should try this or something like this to make us tougher down the stretch?
It's no word. The toughness thing is crazy. I had never had any association with lack of toughness.
Yeah. So
that I kind of like was numb to. I didn't even hear that. Like that ain't.
Right.
That's not even a part of nothing. We are a tough team. We have been a tough team. We've seen come down in training camp, joint practices, we smacking people around. Like we're a tough team, physical team, for sure. The lack of toughness and the narrative, it's the absence of winning big games. Right. Absence of winning the big games against the top teams and in the playoffs. And there's no words for it. Nothing I can say here, nothing that we can discuss. We have to just go out and show and prove. Like it has to be done. Got to win the big games against the top teams, and got to win the game and got to win in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah.
Or else you're gonna keep getting this narrative. You're a soft team and you can't win big games. Like that's it. There's no words to combat it. It has to be shown.
So you would disagree with the statement that your biggest rival is 27-degree weather. That is not that's a false statement for the Dolphins.
That's a false statement.
Okay.
That's a false statement.
I'm just throwing it out there. I just wanted to make sure that we disagree with that.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
He's
negative
right.
negative 30-degree weather. That's a rival.
That's a kryptonite for a lot of teams. I don't give a damn where you're from. You're right. There's only a few that can handle that. And to your point too, I mean, Mike McDaniel's tried to say a million things till he's blue in the face. He's addressed the situation, right? He takes it head on. He understands the crap that's out there that's being said about you guys. You're right. And I like how you keep saying you guys, even though you're retired, not there. You notice how you're doing that a little bit? Yeah.
Hey, I'm not afraid of it. I'm a Saint Dolphin forever.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's gonna be we.
That's right. They gave you a lot of checks with a lot of zeros at the end of it, so you should be happy with that. That's for sure. All right, let's shift some gear. Let's shift the gear here a little bit to the current news and what happened this morning. Right, your first thought when you heard George Pickens going to the Dallas Cowboys in the trade from the Steelers.
Listen, I still had morning breath when I saw it, man. I didn't even get a chance to get myself together. But yeah, I love it for Dallas and for Dak. And add another dynamic weapon, somebody that could win one-on-ones. You want those guys. You want those guys. You want as many of those guys as you can possibly have. People that can win one-on-ones get paid a lot.
Right.
Plain and simple. I don't know what the Steelers are doing. It's kind of hard for me to gather what's their plan offensively. They don't have a solidified quarterback in the building. I know they traded for DK Metcalf, but like I say, you want as many guys that can win one-on-ones as possible. So I'm really interested to see the direction of the Steelers offense. I know that defense will be what it is again. They're stacked over there on defense, but you got to score points to win. You got to score points to win in this game, man, especially in the regular season. Like, you got to put up points. It's a fast-paced game, faster game now, more points being scored than ever. So I don't really know the direction of the Steelers offense.
We questioned that too before you came on. We talked about, like, I got to think they're going to try to add another proven commodity to the offensive wide receiver room, right? Robert Woods, we know he's had a good little career, but he's been injured. He's getting up there in age. And then after that, it's a lot of unproven commodities. So, yeah, that's where we've heard here, and I brought up the name just a minute ago, but just to let you know that there has been some conversations with the Steelers and Alan Lazard and the Jets, right? So there's Aaron Rodgers' buddy. He could be one of those guys, right? I know. All right. And what do you say about that? Because I see you kind of take a big breath and move your head there. You got something to say there?
Yeah. I mean, Alan Lazard, he's been a good player. He's been a complimentary piece,
right?
Not like George Pickens he's been a number one.
Yeah,
I think it's a difference. And like I said, if you can consistently win one-on-ones, you get respected as such. You get paid a lot of money. Even the quarterback situation, though, like for a quarterback to be coming in this late, it's a lot. It's a learning curve.
I know.
Playbooks, terminology, it's adjustments that has to be had, and that takes time. Even for the great Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback for sure. But it's a lot of cohesiveness that needs to be happening, and a lot of chemistry that needs to be built. It takes time, nothing but time. No matter your previous accolades, awards, or talents, it takes time to build these things and learn an offense. So I'm not sure what the Steelers have going on.
I'm with you too, because I had said to Ahmed, I thought that they would try to kind of massage this and make this, kick the can down the road on George Pickens and be like, hey, just make it work one more year. We got Aaron Rodgers coming here. It's going to be you and DK Metcalf, and we'll make this work. I'm a little surprised they did it, and especially after the draft and didn't do it before the draft. That was another part that I didn't understand. Why not get the pick for Aaron Rodgers and your team right now, right?
Yeah.
Right? But do you think, and I tend to think this, is this a little inkling into the Steelers are just like, man, he's too much of a headache. We think we could be good this year, and we don't want to deal with his damn distractions and the things he might say to the media if he's not getting the ball as much as he thinks he should.
Yeah, I think it comes down to their financial picture. They didn't want to pay him as a number one. They see the path that those receivers are getting paid nowadays. They're getting paid like quarterbacks. So with the distractions and other small things that George Pickens has surrounding his career, they felt like they wouldn't been able to pay him or wasn't willing to pay him that amount of money. So let's get some form of compensation. I agree with that approach. If you're planning on losing a guy for nothing at the end of the season,
right,
you might as well get some compensation. But I'm with you, Chris, as far as to why not do it during the draft, where the leverage is what it is. It's the highest is going to be.
Right.
You can get some draft picks right now to come in and be an asset to the team. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a draft that we know and we talked about a lot, where it was like there's a lot of talent to be had in the second, third, and fourth round of this draft. It was a deep draft that way. How about just real quick before we're going to ask you one more question after this, but real quick on Dallas, just what do you kind of see with them? Anything excite you there? I mean, the potential of him and CeeDee Lamb is a little bit like we would have thought we'd have saw in Pittsburgh with DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So what do you think, since you're living in Dallas and you have the heartbeat of the city right now?
Yeah, I think Dallas offense will be all right. I think it'll be pretty good. I can see Dak having a rebound year and lighting it up again. I would like to see that from Dak for sure. And having more weapons. They're working to solidify the O-line with the first round pick they're bringing in to replace Zach Martin. You know what I mean? I think the O-line is going to be pretty good too. So offensively, I can see Dallas being one of those top units.
Yeah.
Defensively, different story. I really don't. I'm really not too high on them defensively. Micah Parsons, all world, incredible. Trayvon Diggs and those guys, but they struggled against the run a lot. I don't know how much they did to address that. And if you can't stop the run, you won't win many games.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's the big question with them.
Yeah.
You're right. We've been talking about Dallas stopping the run really for about 3 years now, right? So I hear you there. It really has been a big issue. All right. One of the things we do want to ask, and Ahmed's been dying to ask you this, right? And we're always ranking things here and doing that.
Chris is always, we make Chris rank
They make
things.
me rank everything so the internet can shit on me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they like to do. So it's your turn. You're gonna get. You're gonna get it now.
So,
and here you go.
What we want here is the top 5 badass offensive linemen in your mind right now. So the offensive linemen that offensive linemen respect. So you're sitting there, you're an analyst right now. Who have you come across? Who have you watched on the other sideline? Who you really respect their games? And we're putting you on the spot here, so
in no particular order, but just 5 names, guard, tackle, whatever. Just guys that over the last few years where you just go, man, I watch film, I see him when I'm on the field. He's freaking awesome. I like this guy.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 5 younger guys.
Oh, I like it.
Guys
All right, I like
these guys are carrying the torch of O-line play.
Let's go.
I will go with one of my former teammates first, Cesar Ruiz.
Okay.
Cesar Ruiz, right guard. If he can stay healthy,
Michigan
top
guy.
3 guard in the league.
Right.
If he can stay healthy, top 3 guard in the league.
Okay.
He's that nice. 4, Trey Smith.
Okay.
Badass.
Right.
Badass, physical, killer.
Right.
Next, I will go Rashawn Slater.
Okay. Left tackle for the Chargers.
Rashawn Slater. He's a dog.
Yep.
Next, Penei Sewell.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's a duh one, obviously. Yep. Right.
Number one, this will surprise you a little bit, but you go back and you watch this guy's tape, you will understand exactly what I'm saying. Robert Hunt.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Robert Hunt. Go watch his tape.
Okay.
Go watch his tape.
And Robert Hunt, then I'm trying to call off the top of my head right now. Is he on the Cincinnati Bengals right now?
Carolina Panthers.
That's where he is. Damn it. So
he was drafted to the Dolphins.
Right.
Go watch his last season in Miami. He signs a 5-year, $100 million deal to Carolina.
Big contract.
And go check him out. He got his first Pro Bowl this year too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. All right. That's a good one. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm glad you gave the young guys some love. And yeah, damn it, we haven't said Robert Hunt's name here in a year to where I was literally like, wait, what damn team is he on now? I totally messed that up.
Yeah, let's fix all that, guys. Let's fix that.
I like that. It. We try to stay up. I mean, one thing we like on this podcast is we give the big guys love all the time, and that's why you're going to be a welcomed addition.
Oh.
That's what we do, right? I get sick of all the quarterback won the game, the quarterback lost the game, the quarterback, like, come on, there's more to the game.
He says that now. When he was playing, he was okay with that, but now it's just like
only when we won. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We did win the game. I won the game. No, I've never been like that. I grew up in Phil Simms, Bill Parcells, Giants era of football where it was about the team. It was about physicality. It wasn't always quarterback. And we give out the Big Butt Award every week.
Correct.
On our podcast during the season. The best offense and defensive linemen, right?
Yeah.
Because we talk about a lot of good players got big butts and good legs and big legs.
Oh, man.
And so we have that kind of talk on here a lot.
It's all complimentary.
It's all complimentary good talk. Don't
Yeah.
let your mind go into perverted areas, all right?
No, for sure. But we couldn't figure out another name for the big dogs.
You need to come up with another name.
We will. Maybe we'll let you help us out with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
As you though, with one of the smaller butts out of the big butt guys, right? So I think you did win the award 1 or 2 of the times, though. Nonetheless.
Okay, I'll take it. Where's my?
Yeah. Good luck. No trophy. We're not that rich over here at this podcast.
Come
okay.
on, man.
Yeah.
Give me a bronze butt. Send a bronze butt.
Okay. All right.
See, now he's getting into it.
You keep being a regular part of the podcast. We'll get to that to you. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make that happen.
Sounds great.
But really appreciate you coming on, dude. I really do. You got a bright future in this business. I've always heard you were a great guy. First time we got to meet at the Super Bowl, you said you'd be willing to come on. I appreciate you doing it and talking football. I could tell you love the game, man. So I hope you know you'll be back with me and Ahmed Fareed.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Best of luck, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right, perfect.
Man,
See you, buddy.
what a good guy. Not that we talk to a lot of bad people.
No.
But Terron is good, too.
Well, I hope one of the things we can show here in football, too, is just there are so many damn good guys in the NFL. You know that now. You've been around enough to where, you could meet 100 NFL players, and I'm not joking, 99 of them are going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
And, you're going to have one weird one every now and then or whatever. You go, oh, he wasn't as cool as I thought, or maybe he doesn't love football. But for the most part, guys like that are there because of who they are. There's a love for the game. There's a love for what I want to do. There's an enjoyment of talking it and watching it and seeing the psychoanalysis of how my coach coaches and does all that stuff. And, a left tackle, more times than not, as we've seen with Orlando Brown Jr. too, they got to have that, right? It's too tough of a position. You got to be bought in all the time. You got to be obsessive. You almost have to have a quarterback-ish type A OCD type of personality to be a really awesome tackle in the NFL, and I think he's one of those guys that fits that too.
Yeah, what's always struck me about any team sport athlete is that they were in that team sport for such a long time is that they're good teammates.
Yes.
It's like they're more egomaniacal people who are just like TV that I come in contact with. They're TV guys that never played sports because it's just more of an individual. These guys are used to playing 13, 14, 20 years going back to high school and college in a team environment. And so you got to be they weed out the bad people. Sometimes
the
worst
guys.
people are the best because they didn't have to conform to the team. Some of the most talented players are the weirdest.
I could get away with anything.
Exactly.
I'm awesome,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to have that, right? Exactly right. But and then that's one of the values of football. I say it to parents all the time. It's the great thing about the sport. It is a team. You got to deal with a lot of people from different personalities. Different backgrounds. So all of that goes into it, and that's why it is the greatest team sport in the world right now and kicking ass in our country. And not to say other team sports aren't as good. Don't get me wrong. I like baseball. I like basketball. But it's still not quite the total team type of thing that is comparable to football. And I'm not trying to say that in any disrespectful way. Just having played it, having seen it, having talked to other guys in other sports. As we know, to like your point, baseball, basketball, one or two guys. We got this guy and this guy in the offseason. Hey, you're an NBA Finals contestant, right? Oh, you got him. Oh, you're going to the NBA Finals. And football, it's just not like that. You could be like, hey, we got this guy and that guy, and they go, well, yeah, but the rest of your team, shit. I don't care. You're not going anywhere, right? That's really cool, awesome. Right? So, there's just so much that goes into it, and, that was great by him coming in and shedding some light on some things.
And I would not have said that thing about the Dolphins' biggest rival being 27-degree weather if he was sitting here with us. I felt the comfort of us being separated by satellite
I don't think
Zoom.
he's afraid. And what I will say is when he was at the Super Bowl, he addressed it a little bit more aggressively. And I'm sure he probably was like, that might have been a little too aggressive.
He might have been a little angrier. It was still more fresh, right?
Fresh, maybe, yes. Yeah, either way. Or you're just, as you're getting out of the football business, you start to realize, wait, there's a fine line sometimes in like, hey, I want to make a point, but oh, wait, this pissed off a bunch of people I know.
Sure.
Or, I didn't make the point at all because I'm afraid to piss off the people. So now I said nothing but a bunch of fluff. And I think, that's what you have to do. And I had to find that fine line too when I got out of football, of figuring out how to explain something without ruining relationships, always making people feel bad, but yet being true to myself and saying what I believe. And that's a hard thing when you first get out of the NFL and try to get into the media.
Yeah, that's why I think he might be pretty good at this, because he does have something to say. He has something he wants to say in a point of view and is able to express that. So
let's take into account like Tom Brady, what we saw yesterday. I don't know if you saw any of this on the Logan Paul podcast, right?
No.
And we'll hit on this a little bit. I don't even know if we got questions about this, but he talked about the Shedeur Sanders thing with Logan Paul. They asked him about the slide of Logan Paul, right? First off, you're the lead analyst for Fox. You got to be, and you're a part owner of the Raiders. You got to realize that they're going to ask you about Shedeur Sanders. So you should have an answer ready no matter what. You shouldn't be caught off guard. He gets asked by Logan Paul and whoever the co-host was. I don't mean to be disrespectful to him, but the Shedeur Sanders slide, right? And it's almost like it catches Brady off guard. And then he kind of stammers and stumbles all over his words. And then he self-incriminates. All they want to know is about Shedeur Sanders' slide. He starts to go, well, I had nothing to do with that. I didn't evaluate him that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, you couldn't have made yourself look more guilty there and why the Raiders didn't pick him, right? That was a horrible way to answer that question. You didn't need to say that. You could have just dove into, yeah, that was a crazy story about Shedeur Sanders, right? I mean, and let me tell you, this is what I think happens in NFL circles and all that. Instead, he brought it back to himself and put himself on the spotlight to be like, hey, it wasn't me. It wasn't me with the gun in my hand that robbed the bank, right? I mean, no, it wasn't me. So that was a little odd. And again, what my point was is, you know, you gotta be prepared for how you're gonna say things, and you can't be scared to say things because you're like, oh no, wait, Shedeur's not gonna like me, Deion's not gonna like me. This part of the team might get mad. I say, like, you know, and that's a hard thing to deal with the next player.
Well,
right?
it makes it impossible. You
It's
can't do that
tough.
because your number one responsibility is to the person watching. That's why we do all this stuff, right?
If you're gonna be in this business, that's exactly right.
Exactly.
That's the number one thing.
You might make some of your friends mad, but
Right.
if you, I mean, like, you do a great job of this. You speak your truth. You know, you'll change your mind if you find other evidence.
Yeah,
but
right.
in that moment, you got to say what you believe, and ultimately, his friends have to realize that he has a job to do now.
Yeah,
his job is
the cool
to do that.
ones are the ones that are confident in their abilities. Will not like. I've criticized Kyle Shanahan on this podcast before.
Yeah.
I've criticized Sean McVay. I've criticized a bunch of my friends. They don't call me up always and like, oh my gosh, how could you say that? I mean, no, they're real with the situation. Usually they're like, damn, yeah, there is an issue here in that. He's not wrong there. He might not be exactly right in how he's explaining it, but I'm not going to call him and go, hey, you're an idiot. You're wrong here, right? You know, the good ones just have the confidence to go, I'm going to fix this. Like, the hell with what Chris said. I'm going to fix this. We're going to fix this. We're going to do this. I know that's wrong, and I know I could be better here. Whatever, right? The non-good ones are the ones that sometimes call me, and they're like, how could you say this? And I want to be like, what? I've said other things that are good, and you don't ever text me when it's good, but now you're all bent out of shape because I said one thing that was dissecting your team a little bit, and you're bent out of shape. So, yeah, it's not always easy in our spot, and that's just part of the job.
All right, we thank Terron Armstead, newly retired, enjoying his time talking to us. Couldn't find anything better to do, right? Come on, go take a break or something.
Seriously,
like
he
that.
got all that damn money, and he's hanging out with us. What the hell's he doing?
Hopefully he comes back because he was awesome. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a few more of your Ask Me Anything questions as the Chris Sims Unbuttoned podcast rolls on. Some of the comments from the homies on YouTube. The most liked comment: the whole point of retiring a jersey is to not use it again. Talking about the controversy with Abdul Carter taking the number 11 jersey. Chris Sims, Phil Sims, they were okay with it. Richard and everyone else that liked that comment is like, you don't do that.
Yeah, well, it was great, to see people kind of like say, like, damn, no, Phil, you can't give away your number and do all those type of things. But yes, that is the point, is to not use it again. I understand that. But I think you got to give the players the right to pick every now and then, and there might be a special player every now and then that comes along to where a guy that does have his jersey number retired, and he goes, I like this player. He's special. I'll let him wear it. And that's okay, too.
I liked Ice Troll's comment. It is a great reminder to your dad on how friends feel about him and the uproar that it caused and his legacy. And it meant so much to so many people. That's got to feel cool to hear.
Definitely. I doubt he was surprised by my sister or mom and their fight back and their revolution against the whole thing. But I think he was taken aback by how many people, ex-teammates, people he knows in the business that were like, hey, your 11 is special. Don't let anybody do that. Now, within saying that, too, and I do feel a little here, right? Well, you know what? Keep this going, and then I'll make my statement after.
Okay,
we
all
go.
right.
Go ahead.
Joe Lopez knows your family. Said often would see him go to work. Your mom had the Giants floor mats in the car, big blue helmet, number 11 on them. And so if you gave that number, it would be almost though, it's like, why do you have Abdul Carter's number 11 all over your car? And she would have to explain it then. It would be more work.
I don't know if Joe was right about that one.
Oh.
All right. But that's not my mom, and that my dad would never let my mom drive anything with the Giants helmet on it that said big blue 11.
There's an imposter out there.
There might be, right. I don't know what white people that are tall with blonde hair that you're seeing, Joe Lopez, but no, we did not have floor giant mats or anything like that in our car. All right. So we throw the challenge flag. We went to the Zapruder film.
Joe, what do you got for that? You've been duped out there. And the last two are on my nickname for Isaac TeSlaa.
It's a great one.
I had Electron. I was really feeling good about that, to the point where I was like, I hope no one else has thought of this yet, and so I will get full credit for it. Now come to find out, and reading the next comment, it was a terrible nickname because Chad Clark came up with a better one, Cybertron. I like that one better.
It is pretty good, but your Electron isn't that bad.
Do like Electron.
I didn't mind that.
All right.
I mean, I guess the Tesla Cybertruck Tron
it's
can
the
work
same idea,
too.
and so maybe Chad.
Well, Tesla was more about electricity, and I like
Electron.
Right? I don't think it was that horrible.
Maybe
I mean,
we'll let the homies decide. Maybe we'll do a poll or something like that.
Well, let's see if the guy can get a catch in the NFL first before we give him a nickname. All right, let's just go there first.
Let's see if he makes the roster.
You haven't made the team yet, but the fan base has a nickname for you.
Yeah. Ahmed Freed is already comparing you favorably to Megatron, one of the greatest players of all time. Yeah, you're right. Let's wait. Let's
pump
wait
the brakes on that, okay? All right, there, Mr. Blue Sweatshirt guy. All right, the other thing is, too, I do want to say this. I want to stick up for Abdul Carter a little bit because I do think people have gotten on him a little bit about, like, stop asking Lawrence Taylor and Phil Simms for their number. First off, this is perfectly fine that Abdul Carter has a number that he likes. He's not doing this out of disrespect or anything like that. This is a young man who's a phenomenal football player who's going to a team that has great tradition and has got some numbers retired. He was compared to Lawrence Taylor a lot in the draft process, all right? So within that, he goes to the Giants. He's been hearing that, and he's going, damn, that'd be kind of cool to honor LT and play for the Giants and wear 56 and do all that. It wasn't like he was like, oh, I want to ruin Lawrence's legacy and piss off the Giant fans. And then it's like when Lawrence said no, he wasn't like, well, let me see if I can piss them off more and ask for Phil Simms. No. Like, football players can be superstitious. He wore 11 in college, and we know. I mean, I wanted to wear 2 everywhere I went. I wasn't good enough to command it all the time and do that, but I wanted to because that felt like it was me. That is part of me. So I understand him asking for number 11 as well. And don't feel like it's so disrespected if the guy, don't feel like he's disrespecting people and all that within taking the liberty of the person that you say is disrespectful and disrespected. He's not disrespected in my dad. He found it as a great honor that Abdul Carter asked him for the number. He enjoyed his conversations with Abdul Carter, and he thought about giving it to Abdul Carter because he understands the superstition of a number and a great player and how they are. And I think my dad believes in Abdul Carter, and of course is a Giant fan. So that's one thing I just wanted to say. I do want people to stop dragging Abdul Carter for that. This is not out of meanness or selfishness or anything like that. I think it's a guy who's trying to bring in the Giants' history and all of it and breathe it in and be a part of it. And there were 2 numbers that meant something to him. And okay, it didn't work out, and let's just leave it at that and hope that, yes, he's going to make his own number that's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, and that's what we're rooting for. But Giant fans, come on now. Let's get off his back. He's one of us. He's one of our guys, and let's support him all the way here.
And it was your dad that opened the door to the possibility of 11, and then he closed the door.
Exactly right. He opened the door, though, for Abdul to go, I would be honored. So you got it. It was the old okey doke.
If Abdul's going to be mad at anyone, don't be mad at the Giants. Be mad at your dad.
Be mad at Phil. When you see, in fact, Abdul, when you see Phil at the Giants facility, you have the green light for me to punch him in the arm as much as you want. Go ahead. I'm just going to let you can do that. All right?
Yeah.
In fact, my dad would probably like it. He'll be like, oh, this guy likes me a lot.
Yeah. On second thought, you can have my number. Just take it. I don't care what anyone says. All right, we got a few Ask Me Anything questions here from the homies that were curious about a few things that have happened, including that big trade. We have I Am a Bullfrog somehow tweeted us and said, are my Steelers already throwing in the terrible towel and tanking the season for next year's quarterback draft class? I'm confuzzled.
Yeah, well, don't be confuzzled. They're not doing that at all. In fact, I think they're looking at this as by, subtraction by addition or addition by subtraction. That's the one I was looking for there.
Transitive property. I think that still mathematically works. So yeah.
But yes, I think that's what they're looking at. And these are things that I would imagine that when Aaron Rodgers was there for 6 hours and started dialogue with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would think some of these things were talked about either then or at some point after. And he was aware that this might happen. And Rodgers is probably like, man, I dealt with enough distractions in New York with the Jets and all that. We don't need another guy here I want the ball more. I need more money, blah, 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 blah. So they're going, no. They're going to go with their one-star guy. They got a good tight end, and then they're going to figure out the rest of the room from there and all that. But by no way are they tanking or doing anything like that. I would tell you, you're tanking if you start Mason Rudolph as your quarterback. That is where I'd go, well, you don't want that, Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers gives you a chance to be a player in the AFC.
Yeah, Pete is noting here that, no one would ever want to go up to Mike Tomlin and be like, hey, we're going to tank this season. That would be the scariest conversation I think anyone in the Steelers front office would ever have.
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin would be like, heck no, you're fired.
Exactly.
Like, I'm your boss, but no, you're fired. That's not happening.
No, that's not acceptable to him.
All right, we got a question about the Saints here. Victor Tosi says, what do you think about the Saints draft? The more I watch Shough, the more I like him. I think he's going to start week 1. Now, there's some questions on Derek Carr and his shoulder. I still don't quite know what's happening there. I haven't dove into that as much as everyone out there. It seems like too much to dive into, but what do you think of that?
Well, I think that there's a chance. And in my heart of hearts, I think that Derek Carr is going to be okay here with his shoulder situation.
What is it? He's not getting the surgery, or he is getting the surgery?
No surgery. But he got into basically where we got close to phase 1 offseason, and then they decided, and then it came out like there's a shoulder injury. And I think people thought, like, is he doing this as some sort of power play, right, to the team to say he can't pass a physical or, anything with the quarterback situation overall? I don't know.
This is why I didn't get into it.
No, it's a lot of far-fetched stuff. Yeah. Either way, everybody knows in football that the Saints wanted to move away from Derek Carr this year. They wanted to move away. They couldn't do it because of the contract. It was going to cost them other players on their football team, so they figured the best thing to do was keep him there for right now. They drafted Tyler Shough, 1, for the future. 2, if Derek Carr can't play this year, Tyler Shough is a little older. He's been playing football. He'll be ready to play here in the NFL pretty early on in his career. That's why people liked him. He's got good size. He runs well. And, of course, when you see him in the Jeff Brom offense in Louisville, you get to see him do a lot of NFL quarterbacky type of stuff. And that's a lot of O coordinators and quarterback coaches and all that are going to like that aspect about it. Go, wait, I got a system. He's going to be able to run that. He'll listen. He'll understand what I'm doing. And I like that. And hopefully we can bring some more out of him as far as playmaking ability and stuff of that nature. So, yeah, there's a future here with him. I'm not, again, my thoughts. I'm not in love with any of these guys other than Cam Ward. I like Tyler Shough, but if I was a GM of a team, I wouldn't be like, oh, man, yes, Tyler Shough, next 7 years, my franchise quarterback. No, I would not. I'm sorry. Now, the rest of the draft, I do like Kelvin Banks Jr. was one of the prized, guaranteed gems of the draft. Everybody who wanted an offensive lineman thought Kelvin Banks Jr. was one of the top guys in this. So they killed it there. And they got some damn offensive line, especially some of the players they drafted last year. Terron Armstead just told us about Cesar Ruiz.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They got some ass kickers there. Got a big D tackle from Texas who I like. A pretty good safety from Virginia and Sanker who can do some things there. So, yeah, it was a solid draft. I'm not blown away with it, but solid.
Which, by the way, I didn't note that with Terron. We said you don't need to come up with any order. He went in reverse order 5 to 1. That was pretty amazing.
He really did. Yeah, it was. It was. I was very impressed that he was ready for that altogether. Other thing that I want to hit on just real quick, because I don't know where it's not going to get a question, is the Jacksonville Jaguars cut Gabe Davis. Right?
Okay.
Gabe Davis, the #1 star receiver from Buffalo that a lot of the networks told me about the last years. All the guys out there, especially on a 4-letter network, hey, Josh Allen's got talent galore around him. It's just, whoa, what? Here we go. Gabe Davis, #3 on Jacksonville last year, not on the team now. Right? What do you got to say about that? The people that hated on Josh Allen for so long about the incredible whatever they were talking about talent that they saw around him at that time. Come on. That's Crazyville, USA. But I just had to say that.
Yeah, no, I like that we got that in. Right. And who knows? Maybe he'll go to the New York Jets because I don't know that they did enough in the draft to increase their talent, their wide receiver pool. At least that is the question from Israel, DMS7. Did the Jets make a mistake not addressing wide receiver better and defensive tackle at all in the draft?
If there's a position on the Jets, right, that you do look at to go, ooh, so they could use maybe a little bit more there. I think it is fair to say wide receiver is one of those that I look at to go, it's a little underwhelming. And it's one of the things I thought, like even with Florida today, I was like, I don't even know. Will they trade Allen Lazard? They might look at it and go, damn, we can't trade him. We don't have enough good receivers here either. It's a lot of like unproven commodities, right? So that's where we'll see. But yeah, Arian Smith is a guy that's got some talent for sure. He does. Right? So we'll see what he can do there. You know, as far as like the D tackle position, okay, and some of that type of stuff, they don't need a D tackle. Like, they got one of the best defenses in football. I mean, they got people they're gonna have to pay Will McDonald like he's a top defense end in football. I mean, if they want to keep Jermaine Johnson, they're gonna have to pay him a pretty little penny too here. Their defense is not the issue, but they help their offense out with Mason Taylor, and then they help themselves out with, again, everything that they do. I feel like there's some little bit of like Detroit, right? Mm-hmm. The guy, I always blank on this damn receiver's name, is Arian Smith, right? You know who he reminds me of? He's not quite that, and he's got a little bit of a drop issue, but he's got like Jameson Williams build and speed, right? Sure. So if he can consistently catch the ball and somebody can get him it, like he could be a game-breaking type of player. Again, one of those guys that we didn't get to talk about in the draft process because we would have spent 3 podcasts on receivers alone if we went down to the 3rd and 4th and 5th round guys, right? So he's a guy that does have some potential, and they're going to, I think, get good things from Mason Taylor at tight end.
I know part of the reason dovetails into your other point about the Steelers getting that 3rd round pick this year, because you could have gotten a guy like that, and that could be useful.
That's what I'm saying. I know.
It all comes full circle.
Exactly.
Kirk Nelson wants to know about the Bengals. Should the Bengals try to sign a veteran like Brandon Sheriff to give them a proven starter at right guard, or should they roll with what they have?
I don't think they're in a bad spot here.
Got Cody Ford there right now with Orlando Brown.
And Cody Ford's been a little underwhelming here. They have some flexibility, as far as they got some younger guys there that maybe, they can try out. Kind of Lucas Patrick also from New Orleans, who's been around football for a little while. Does he help out there? But I have a feeling that they're going to stay status quo unless they can find a Brandon Scherff or a player like that for a really good value signing and not have to spend a lot of money. But like, they've still got Trey Hendrickson hovering over their football team and having to figure out that situation as far as guaranteed money and what they're going to pay him. I don't expect them to bring in at this point any big name free agent. I think they're going to roll with what we see on their offensive line right now, and I got no problem with that. The tackles are good. Cordell Volson, right? I could deal with him at left guard. Ted Karras, I could deal with him at center. Right, the Cody Ford would be the one that you question a little bit, but he does have some size and some athletic ability, so we'll see where it goes. But I think they stay status quo there.
All right, 2 more questions. I want to save this next one for last, actually.
Okay.
So let's go to the Bears one.
Okay.
And this one comes from Tom. He says, if you had to lay out some strategy as to how Ben Johnson will do his best to keep all of his talented Bears pass targets satisfied, what would you suggest? For example, would one element be to shade the pass-run ratio to 55, 60%, pass 40% run? So Tom's throwing some percentages at us. They do have some new weapons now. They got, of course, they've had DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Now they got Luther Burden there. That's a good wide receiver room. Colson Loveland now is a tight end target.
Hey, they got good problems to have.
Good problems to have.
Good problems to have. But if there is one guy in football that can feed everybody, yeah, it's Ben Johnson. And why do I think that? Because he's been doing that the last 3 years and feeding everybody in Detroit. I mean, that's what he's been doing. He's got a Shanahan and McVay ability to formulate plays and game plans and adjustments during the game, and an ability to also think ahead as the week goes on to go, wait, this is how I'm going to get this guy involved early on and get him in the game, and to buy into, like, yeah, you'll get the ball here, but you might go through a little period where you don't get the ball because we go to somebody else, but it'll come back to you, right? And I think that's what he's going to sell. He's going to go, hey, when I was in Detroit last year, guys, I had a guy that ran for 1,400. I had a guy that ran for 775, and he missed like 5 games, and he probably would have ran for 1,000 too. I had a receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown who who went for 1,000. And, oh, yeah, I had another receiver who went for 1,000, and then Jameson Williams, and also had a tight end that almost had 800 yards of receiving, right? So he's going to go, don't worry. I know offense. I know how to get the ball. They're going to run the ball, of course. He's going to make people bend to that, just like you heard Terron Armstead talk about. When you can get people to now you get one-on-ones on the outside. So he's going to run the ball. It's going to be as balanced as we've seen there. But he will come up with ways to have plays and feature guys throughout the game and have certain packages, let alone his system, I think, at its base value, will just feed everybody the ball anyways, too. Yeah. So he's going to have all of that there. But I think early on it's going to be run the ball. I think they'll rely on DJ Moore because he's a veteran who's going to be able to show some of these young guys how to do it, right? You'll see Cole Kmet and Loveland used a decent amount, and then slowly but surely, I think you'll start to see more advanced stuff from Luther Burden and Roma Dunze, right, to go, okay, he understands all my rules of what I want on this play now and how to do it and how to run this route, and I don't think you have to worry about that in Chicago. I am very excited about the Bears this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good. I am not as excited
I
as
know
you
you're
are
not.
about.
The hell with you.
They're going to be as good. Good question from Tom Papalardo. I wanted to say that last name.
Tom Papalardo.
It was below my personal standard not to try. I was like, and it's actually not that hard. So Tom Papalardo,
it
good
rolls off
question
the tongue
there.
nicely.
It does, actually,
right.
once you look at it a while. All right, last question here. This is a good one to end with. This is a good mental exercise.
Ooh, man, I see
Alex Huang
That's
says,
the one. Right.
how many teams could you plug Mahomes or Allen in at quarterback with the existing roster, and they wouldn't make the playoffs next year? So,
or they would make the playoffs?
no.
Oh,
they
and
wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
So you put
Okay.
Mahomes, you put Allen.
Gotcha. And they
even
won't
with
make
them,
it. Right.
they won't
Okay.
make the
That's a more
playoffs.
fair question.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about earlier, too, right, this isn't basketball.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't basketball where you can go, well, we signed Michael Jordan and LeBron James. We're in the window to win the finals now. It's not that. So this is a sport here where, as we see, Saquon Barkley was the best running back in football, but nobody knew about it because he was on the shitty-ass Giants, right?
Yeah.
So he needed help. Oh, okay. He got a little help. I don't know. Is he the best running back I've ever seen in my life? I mean, that's literally how quickly it changed. Okay. I know, Pete, it's a running back. I got it. Thank you for telling me that Saquon's a running back. I did not know that.
Oh,
Thank
he's just
you.
letting you know that quarterback.
Okay. Now,
yeah.
so the quarterback situation.
So here, hold on. This is why
Yeah.
it's a hard exercise
Right.
because you would have maybe thought Washington was one of those teams last year that even with Mahomes and Allen, they still would not be a playoff team.
I might have. You're right.
They didn't even have them.
You're right.
And they were a playoff team.
Right.
And they
And
beat my Lions.
Now, hey, the rest of the team, I think the rest of the team was better than I expected, to throw that in there too, right? I think I undervalued the football team. Okay. I undervalued Cliff Kingsbury's, maybe some of the adjustments he's made in his life on the offensive side of the ball.
But how could you not? They were the second worst
yes,
team the year
but
before.
yes,
Yeah.
right. But so like we know quarterback's important, but no, do I think you could just throw like Mahomes or Allen on any team and then we sit there and go, oh, watch out.
Yeah.
Playoffs, here
I
we
think
come.
that's a good question because any of
Right.
these teams, as we saw here, could make the playoffs with a run. But it's like, would they be a betting favorite to make the playoff, right? You know, like, do they elevate them to the point of like, all right, now it's more likely they make the playoff than don't? I think that's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah, okay. So I hear you there.
I don't know if that changes.
No,
it at
I
all.
don't know either. So like, all right, so here's what
Chris is like, I don't know what you said, but I think it's
I don't think if you put Mahomes or Allen on New England last year, they go to the playoffs.
okay.
Okay? I don't. Are they flirting with playoffs in mid-December? Sure. Okay, but I'm going to say no there.
But what about this year's roster?
Well, that's not
Patriots?
fair. Where the hell is this going to end? Do you want me to go with this year's? I don't even know what to think.
That's what Alex said. The existing roster.
The existing roster.
You want to go
right
by
now,
last year's? I like what you're doing.
It's very hard to go on draft. And
I
everything
agree.
like
So
that.
let's do it.
Okay.
I agree. All right.
Okay, so you're
we're
good with
finally
that?
getting. Yeah, I like this. Last year's team, if you would have put them on, would they have made the playoffs? That's good.
I don't think New England, I don't think the Las Vegas Raiders or the Tennessee Titans go to the playoffs with Allen or Mahomes. They're better. They're a pain in the ass, right? But I don't see that. Okay?
Cleveland.
Cleveland is like an interesting one to me.
Because it just fell apart.
They just
right?
fell apart, right? And the quarterback situation was such a big part of that. And I do think there was talent there on that team. So, no, I don't think I'm going to put them in that. I think the world is different for Cleveland if they have one of those guys at quarterback last year. All right? The other one in the AFC I just think about is Jacksonville, right?
4-13 last year.
Right. But I would probably say no there, too. So that's another one where I'd go, yeah, were they better? Sure, of course. But I'm not going to sit here and go playoffs. All right, now we get to the NFC. No, Carolina Panthers, no. I'm not going to say it with that. That they're not getting it.
Giants.
The Giants would probably be the other one. And
New Orleans.
I feel like those three would be the three I'd look at. Because, like, after that, I'd go, I don't know, Chicago last year with Mahomes or Allen, like, I think the team was good enough to be a pain in the ass. Again, they were a Hail Mary away from going 5-2, right? So let's not forget. Dallas, I feel the same way a little bit. Arizona, I feel, okay, yeah, so, and they weren't bad teams, as we know. So, yeah, I think we get into it where – yeah, Dolphins and Colts. No, I would tend to think they're in the playoffs. Pete's saying in my ear.
Jets. Did you say Jets?
No, I didn't. But I would say they would have been a playoff team. I think with those guys at quarterback. I'm sorry, I do. Right. Ooh. So yeah, I do.
Pete makes a good point. What about the Cincinnati Bengals? Because they had Joe Burrow. Didn't make the playoffs, 9-8.
Yeah, no,
probably.
I mean, you could argue Joe Burrow played better than those guys. So I don't know how you could.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow is one of the few guys I can ever remember on a non-playoff team where a lot of really smart football people, Troy Aikman, John Gruden, or whatever, thought he was the MVP of the league. Right. So that was a special year there last year for him. But no, I think we kind of got the teams there that we're talking about right now.
That's interesting. All right, I like that exercise. Yeah. We finally figured out the best way to do it.
I think so.
Well done.
Finally, we got it there.
All right, I think that does.
Was
wrap
that
it
good?
up.
You good for the pod? You good?
I'm good for the pod.
You got to host anything more this week? Any more horses' asses?
I don't. This is a rare kind of like
you're
from
done.
Now until next Monday.
Yeah, until you're back with me.
Back with you.
All right, well, get ready. Make my show as good as possible for Monday. All right, get to work. All right, get to work. Get in the lab. Do something.
I can rank some people too. If you want me to rank something.
Okay, rank the top 5 worst energy drinks that kill people in America right now. Okay, please do that for us.
Depressing research to look at.
All right, everybody. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again to Terron Armstead. He was awesome. You know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. We'll be back Monday. I'm not sure what the hell we're gonna do. We got some guests lined up. We just got to figure out when and where they're going to be on the podcast here. It's tough right now because the NFL is in phase 2. So guys aren't available right now as we record the podcast in a morning, right? To where we might have to tape some interviews in the afternoon. I might have to get you to work a little bit more because you're just not doing enough for the company, all right?
No, that's fine.
All right,
I'll do it from home.
All right, good. All right, everybody. You know what? Keep sending the questions. We love the questions. We love to answer them. All right, everybody have a great week. Enjoy the weekend. Springtime weather's great. Thank you, Ahmed Fareed. You're the best. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Yo, homies, what's up? Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. And just because the weather's warm doesn't mean football ain't still on our brains right here.
We are still working, so smash that subscribe button. We got all the training camp news, preseason news, everything up until kickoff night.
Thanks for watching. And again, remember to hit that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.